This file right here is an AI model that can rate your face for its facial attractiveness. It gave Angelina Jolie a 4.7 out of 5 and Chinese actress Dilraba Dilmurat a 4.8 out of 5. It gave these two unidentified faces scores in the low 2s. It's around 100 megabytes and like most AI, it is stored in a pickle extension. What you're looking at is a near perfect snapshot of all of the neurons, biases, and weights in an AI algorithm's brain being picture frozen to share and reuse by different researchers. But there's one question that most of you want answered. Why does this exist and what benefit does this serve? In 2020, a note was leaked from TikTok to suppress content from those deemed to be too ugly, poor, or disabled for the platform. They specified abnormal body shape, chubby, obvious beer belly, obese or too thin, not limited to dwarfism and acromegaly. They added ugly facial looks, wrinkling, scarring, deformities, among other things such as poor looking backgrounds or low production quality, justifying it all by saying that this is not the content or the brand image it wants to recommend to new users. If you scroll through your For You page as a new account, you'll notice that it is the exact opposite of that. Attractive men and women in their hype-house mansions, and it's certainly by design. AI that rates people's beauty would serve TikTok's purpose of pushing attractive faces and content to the top of a social media's app for greater engagement. We as consumers are also very much to blame for TikTok wanting to push more attractive people to the top of the app, because if we didn't engage with it as much, it wouldn't be a priority. But we're human and biology does dictate that from babies to grown adults, attractive faces do get more attention. TikTok could replace a team of human moderators with a highly precise algorithm that works as soon as you upload a video. It rates your face and then embeds the results from that into a video metadata. And then it could have the second algorithm, the For You page algorithm, push content based on that video's data. In doing so, the beautiful faces would get a boost to rise to the top, essentially recreating the biases of pretty privilege that we see in reality. It's not impossible for underfunded or less attractive creators to rise to the top, but apps like TikTok will see to it that you have to work twice as hard if you're not as attractive. In AI, you hear a lot about reinforcing biases, and this is one of the examples of how biases can get blended back into the AI space. Any good researcher should have a couple of safeguards in place to ensure that the data going in is as high quality and objective as can be. Like all data science models, AI needs to be trained on a database to make any kind of prediction. In this case, it's called SCUT-FBP by Chinese researchers Jie and colleagues. 70 volunteers rate each of the 5,000 faces in the database, and they have a 10% sampling rate, meaning that 10% of the images are randomly selected to make sure there is consistency in the ratings. Unsurprisingly, there is consistency in the ratings because beauty is not entirely in the eye of the beholder. The data shows a bell curve distribution of ratings, as is common for most human traits like athleticism, fitness, intelligence, height, you name it. The 70 raters produced a skewed distribution of attractiveness, implying that there are more below average looking people in a random sample than there are above average. Fahad Naini, in his book Facial Aesthetics and Clinical Diagnosis, explains that beauty is both subjective and objective. It is objective when it comes to physical deformities, your asymmetries, malformations, or facial flaws, and this is why we see so many people in this section of the graph, all of which are characterized by deformities, meaning that there is high agreement between the raters when they give them their lower ratings. On this half, however, beauty is subjective, because they're all attractive and they're free of asymmetries or structural and cosmetic flaws, meaning that they're different variation of a similarly handsome face. And so there is indeed much more spread in this data. Like it or not, we all subconsciously rate other humans in an unspoken hierarchy. You may not be actively aware of it, but it certainly exists, and for most of us, this manifests itself as a phenomenon called the halo effect. In short, people assume positive traits from better looking individuals, implying that we have rated their looks in some way or another, and for enough people to think the same way about an attractive face implies consensus, just like when the volunteers were rating for their database. AI that can rate people's looks are really just trying to mimic what we as humans already do, because the best AI is actually just another human. AI that's not scarily advanced would not be able to beat, say, Garry Kasparov in chess or Lee Sedol in Go. But most AI researchers go about building these types of beauty AI in the wrong way, scaring off the rest of the public and creating fear-mongering headlines. In beauty AI, there are two types of architectures: specific and holistic models. Specific models try to define what a beautiful face is by some kind of biological feature. Psychology research shows that, say, acne is a detriment to your physical attractiveness. So it's logical to design an AI that can detect acne and thus rank those faces as lower. Some try to use facial geometry using facial landmarks. Given 70 facial landmarks and a set of ratios that attractive faces have, how close are your values to that attractive face? This is a flawed method because it forces beauty into a narrow band. Even if you use many different racial groups, they all somewhat converge to the same uncanny looking face. Others use Gabor functions invented by this gentleman to measure skin roughness and blemishes, but again, this is a one-dimensional view of beauty. There are plenty of fashion models that would rate higher than the average person even if they had blemished skin. Holistic AI considers the face as a whole. A rater can say that this face is a 5 out of 5, and it is up to the AI network to figure out what features about this arrangement of pixels makes it so attractive to humans. Do this enough times and the AI can pick up on strange markers of beauty that we cannot even think to define. If there are enough different looking but still beautiful faces in the dataset, like there are in real life, then the AI can define what is similar or dissimilar between attractive faces. In the case of Angelina and Dilraba, both have clear skin, low asymmetry, and healthy structural development. Two very different aesthetics, but almost equally as attractive according to the AI. As a whole, beauty scoring to me is quite an ineffective use of AI. If you want to truly find the most attractive faces to promote on TikTok, just ask your audience. They'll engage more with the pretty faces anyway. There is no need for an AI to moderate on top of that. A better use of AI is in diagnostics. AI that can help people diagnose and improve their looks is far more useful than turning this data into some arbitrary score. At Koovs, we've built one such tool that uses a holistic model of many different racial groups and ages and genders to identify skin characteristics to formulate highly specific skincare to match. If you want to play around with something like this, then you can visit the Koovs website. This is just one such example of using holistic models in improving AI diagnostics. So the next time you're on your favorite social media, pay attention to what type of faces and looks really make it to the top of the app.